Welcome back to Close Mode, the enterprise sales show. I'm Dan Sanchez, and I'm here with Brian Dietmeyer, and we're flipping the script again. And the producer gets to be the host, and the host the guest. And I always love unpacking these ideas, Brian, and learning more about sales as a marketer. It's always fascinating. You blew my mind on the last episode when we talked about what deal coaching was. It's a phrase that I was hearing a lot on the show, and I was like, Brian, what is this? And we're like, oh, we need to record a whole episode about this. So I love that topic. And today I want to expand on the 3 scenarios where deal coaching is the most vital, like why you even need deal coaching or when you need it, if you need it, right?
Yeah.
But before we dive into the 3 different scenarios, Brian, tell me a little bit more about why deal coaching is so critical.
Well, it's let's start with the lagging indicators. There's tons of evidence, including our own primary research we just completed, but tons of evidence that quality coaching, not auditing, not skills coaching, but quality deal coaching, consulting to help get a deal closed, it drives up win rate, it drives up deal quality. So it results. And 2024 and 2023 are those years that are brutal. So what the hell works? And this is part of the research we just did is what the hell is working? Because a lot of the old solutions aren't. The one thing we know loud and clear from our own practice and from this primary research we just did is that one-to-one, high quality in context deal coaching makes a huge difference.
So it was the big unlock I had in the last episode when you gave the example of a manufacturer trying to shift their value by going, I can't call it upmarket, but essentially changing their value by expanding their value. Instead of just manufacturing, they were offering integrated circuit design, right? So they're manufacturing electronic components. But that's a whole new value proposition. That's a whole new way of selling. And of course, even and that was the big difference for me. It was like, I was like, oh my gosh, then that means your sales force who don't need more job coaching and they don't need more skills coaching because they could be highly skilled and know how to do proper discovery and stuff, still might drop the ball, or probably will if they don't have good deal coaching, because it's a whole new way of positioning. It's a whole new product. They could even be knowledgeable about the product and still fail when it comes to selling it because things have changed. The buyer, the way they make decisions about it, how they process it, who you talk to in the organization, like, is going to be different. So that is actually one of the stories you gave in the last episode that illustrates our first scenario, and that is a shift in value. But there's more ways there can be a shift in value within a company that would require deal coaching in order to see success. So what are some of those other shifts that you can see in value, Brian?
It's funny. The first thing that comes to mind, and I'm going to answer that in a moment, is it doesn't always have to be a shift. There's a lot of value propositions that the powers that be believe in. And by the way, there could be evidence that those are true that are not being executed at the deal level. So let's just start with, let's execute, those areas that we're good on and make sure that we're executing them across all of our deals, across all of our reps, across all of our sales stages. But other shifts, there could be strategic shifts. You have a new market you're going into, or you're rolling out a new way to price your stuff, or you're looking at a new way to bundle your solutions, right? Any of those kind of strategic shifts will shift words coming out of a rep's mouths at every step of the sales cycle. You acquire somebody, something, you divest something, you roll out a new product, you roll out a new service, you roll out new software, or you're adjusting AI now into your solution. Like any one of those changes, we've got to start executing those. And I know this is my mantra, but it's one rep, one deal, one stage at a time. It's not going to happen by announcing it at SKO. It's going to happen when we're giving first the coaches and then the reps, the tools and weapons they need to have conversations that reflect execution of that strategy in a way that helps them win deals.
Yeah. And let's say that only a fraction of the sales force is actually tasked with selling the new thing, the new value. Do all those people need deal coaching, and the rest kind of continues to do the same thing they were doing? Is that how you would define who needs deal coaching and who doesn't?
Yeah, that is because you would think someone who's in the AI deal coaching business would say every deal needs deal coaching, and I'm going to say no. There's people who do very transactional deals. The sales cycle is hours or weeks long, right? The average deal is 10 grand. It's not a very complex solution. It's not a very complex buying environment. And that is about churn and burn, right? And so I would never suggest back in the old days when we were doing human deal coaching that someone hire us to coach people doing transactional deals. But now let's jump up to the next level. As the deal cycles get a little longer, the competitive analysis gets a little more complex, the dollar value gets a little bit bigger. That's where we need coaching, but we don't need coaching if you've got sort of 5,000 deals in your pipe. There's a certain number of those deals that are going to be the most impactful ones, and we want to go after those
Yeah.
first, right?
Yeah.
And we want to get to them as early as we can, by the way. So as early as we can, and the ones that are most impactful. And the same thing happens with which reps need deal coaching. Your rock stars probably don't need it, by the way. They could probably do that coaching. Your laggards, it's probably not going to help them. So one of our podcast guests recently talked about it's the middle. It's the middle of your pipe, and it's the middle of your team. But it's not all the deals. Let's go to Susie. Let's look at Susie's pipe, and let's look at the deals that are going to make a difference that we can get to. We're still early enough and are going to make a difference yet in 2024. Let's get after those deals. And that might be, we know the average percent of pipe being coached is 5%. That might get you to 25 or 30% of your pipe. And that could be enough. And then next year, you know what? Next year, maybe we'll get to more. But yeah, hopefully that helps or answers your question.
Yeah. So the first scenario is a shift in value when something internally the company's changing, and it's a proactive thing, but there's something else that can happen. There's another shift that can take place that would necessitate deal coaching, and that's a shift in market.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other ways that can happen. So can you expound on all the different types of shift that can happen externally
Yeah.
that would bring a need for deal coaching?
Yeah, it's and man, it's so funny. COVID's such low hanging fruit, right?
Oh
For
yeah,
all of us who
always.
talk about stuff, especially selling. And
The
and
world
but
changed.
yeah, but COVID was one, and what it did is it shifted customer needs, right? So there was this broader market shift that it was impacting supply chain, and now guess what? Everything blew up. Who we're talking to, what we're talking to them about, what leverage points we're trying to hit in their organization to help them. That was a moving target, right? So that's a shift. There are sometimes, I worked with someone in the supply chain business, and there's geopolitical stuff that's happening that's now changing. Guess what? Their customers are now dealing with this, this country just melted down. There was an uprising, and it's like, we're either manufacturing there or we're selling there. What happens? There are political shifts, legislative shifts. Say, okay, guess what? We can't do that anymore. Or we have to account for this now. So there's all those kind of broader market space shifts that say, we need to have conversations at every stage of the sales cycle that's reflective of this new shift. And again, we have to do it fast. Everything now is fast. The old tools, the old weapons, the marketing, builds a deck and pushes it out to everybody. And no, we've got to find, that's why we talk about kind of on-demand revenue enablement, that as the shift occurs and any of the stuff you and I are talking about, we need to get that in the hands of people and enable them real time to execute against that shift.
And the last scenario of the three is not actually a shift, but is actually just a reality. And that's when your win rates suck. And you kind of alluded to it earlier when you were talking about like, hey, it doesn't always have to be a shift. Sometimes just your current value propositions aren't cutting it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like in this third scenario when you win your current win rates, there hasn't been a major shift in market or a shift of value that you're going with internally. You're just not happy with your current win rates.
Yeah.
So tell me about all the different ways that can play out in a company.
Yeah. I would even expand on that. So these are sort of like, if you're a doctor and you're trying to diagnose a problem, it's like, what are the symptoms?
Yeah.
And so the symptoms that, holy smokes, we need not better deal inspection, but better true deal coaching. Yeah. Our win rate sucks. Or I just heard this from a CRO the other day. His number one target was deals are getting stuck at stage 2 for like 69 days, so deals are getting stuck in different stages. Deal quality. Yeah, we're selling a bunch of deals, but it's crap. Like, we're selling the old thing. We're not selling the new thing. We're not selling sticky deals. Or our renewals are terrible. And this is interesting to me because I'm realizing more lately as more people are focusing, because more people are focusing on in their funnel in 2024 versus the top. In this market, we got to close and keep more of what's in the funnel. And we're finding out that some of this churn that's happening in renewals is one, it goes all the way back to the deal wasn't properly qualified. And I think, Dan, I was telling you the other day about at this conference, Strategic Account Management Association, I was at this week. A gentleman come up to me after, and he's like, "We just lost a renewal, and we lost a renewal. I could have told you when we qualified it. I knew they weren't buying our thing in the right way, and so it wasn't going to deliver for them. And so it goes all the way back to like, what's an ideal opportunity look like? We didn't qualify this thing. We never should have gone after it. Yeah, we got a short term cash flow, but we just smoked our brand equity, right? And we spent time on this dude when we should have been spending time on somebody else. There's also, in some of the renewal coaching we've been doing lately, it's also solutioning. We oversold them. We worked with one organization on $1 billion of renewals, and the most common pushback from the customer was, "Why am I going to renew with you, Dan? I'm not using half the crap you sold me a year ago." And that was poor solutioning. And so we're seeing that a lot. It's so yeah, your win rate sucks. Deals are getting stuck. Your deal quality sucks. Your average sales price is terrible. Your renewals are bad. A lot of those go back to what's happening during the sales process, starting with, are we even qualifying the opportunities properly? Are we doing the right kind of discovery? Are we solutioning? And then after, I love the fact that sales enablement switched to revenue enablement, especially in this market again, because we got to stick with them. We got to, the moment they sign, we need to get the CX going. We need to start living, breathing with them, so that thing doesn't happen 12 months from now when they say, "I'm not using half the crap you sold me a year ago." Right. So we need to shift from yeah, sales enablement to revenue enablement, and making that move.
So we have these three scenarios: a shift in value, a shift in market, and your win rates currently suck.
Or
And
some other indicator. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny because I'm like, I wish it would be, life would be so easy if it were just one of these things. But
Yep.
chances are, if you have a large enough sales force, you're running into a combination of these three
Yep.
all at the same time, which is no wonder why so many teams don't hit their revenue marks, their goals, and fall short. Because most companies are hitting a combination of these three things all the time, because the market can always is shifting in small ways, sometimes in bigger, fast ways. Companies are always changing and evolving. So chances are the sales force is dealing with some kind of combination of these three
Well, and
things.
Dan, yeah, and I agree. And I would even jump it up sort of a higher level that, first of all, like we talked about a few moments ago, qualify what deals in your company should be coached, because they shouldn't all be
Yeah, yeah.
coached, right? And even qualify the people. Beyond that, one of the easiest stats is, all right, of that target that you think is ideal, what percent are you getting to today? What percent of the pipe is being coached? And again, the national average is 5%. And what's your desired, right? So if you look and go, okay, here's the target, these are worthy of coaching, we're only getting to 5% of them, we probably want to be at 40, 50, 60%. That's, that I think is the biggest indicator. And yeah, and that's all happening with all that other stuff you and I just talked about. But I think that the most like blinding indicators are those. If we're only getting a fraction of the percent of pipe coached that should be coached, with all that stuff happening in the market, it's going to make it even worse.
There's a lot of shifts going on.
Yep.
So the more we can better identify what's going on, of course, it's easier to diagnose and actually then deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pun not intended.
Yes.
So, Brian, thanks for joining me and explaining this to me, because now I'm much clearer about why deal coaching is so important and where to find and diagnose it.
And maybe you're ready now to be a deal coach.
There you go. I'm
All
ready.
right.
Give me the
Dan.
badge.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it.